most people know the difference between right and wrong. I've got a couple of models. These are just sort of two models. These aren't actually in your slides, I apologise. I was prompted by someone last night to make sure you include the red, blue and black, but I'll just very quickly run through this model. As a business owner, who's read the E-Myth here? Okay. I mean, E-Myth is actually one of the first business books I've ever read. It's one of the best books I've ever read. It's along similar lines. Okay, you're a business owner, you start off, you're basically doing a whole bunch of red stuff. So the back office, accounting, finance, legal, all that kind of stuff that doesn't really add a lot of value, but you're filling out your GST and DATs and all that kind of stuff. Your blue stuff's generating revenue, doing the sales, doing the deals, generating the cash in the business. And then the black stuff, it's the joint ventures, it's the strategic thinking, it's the M&A. And so one of the things that we used to do at Destra, every Monday morning, we would ask our senior management team, what's the percentage? 30, 30, 40, 50, 40, 10. Because what you can measure, you can change. And what I find, a lot of business owners are spending a lot of time in the red, a little bit in the blue, and zero in the black. And in order to take the business to the next level, you've got to spend a bunch of time in both the blue and the black. Just a decision-making process. This is another core learning that I've had. Once again, this isn't in your notes. And this comes back down to who am I as an individual, and how do I make decisions? Now, I'm a thinking and an acting type of person. That's just who I am. And I can try and be things that I'm not, but my view is to focus on your strengths. So I know that I'm a thinking, acting kind of individual. And in order to be able to grow an organisation, it's all about balance, the yin and the yang. And so what I know is that my 2IC needs to be a testing, reflecting. And so, at Destra I had a number of CFOs and they were all testing and reflecting. They weren't that good at thinking about new stuff, but they were really good at taking the idea and testing it and refining it and thinking about it a bit more, rather than just acting. Because if you've got too many people that just sort of think and act, you'll be going in a million directions and sort of not having a cohesive strategy. I think ultimately, surrounding yourselves with smart people is imperative. And one of the things that I've been doing for the last 4 years is that I take a 1-week holiday every quarter, and I know my life revolves around quarters because, public companies, you release quarterly results and all that kind of stuff. And I found this to be one of the best things that I've actually done that has changed my life for the best. Going away isn't just about a holiday, it's about recharging the internal batteries, recharging the spirit. And when I was away, I used to just focus my time working on the business, the black stuff that we spoke about earlier, then focusing on all the detailed stuff that's going on. And a little trick that I used to use was I booked my next holiday in the following quarter when I'm either on that holiday there or the first week when I get back. Because what happens, I'm going to go away in September and then stuff happens and you never get away and I'll be in November, and what happens in November? You're too busy as well. Really, in summary, because I want to get to some Q&A, what I've learned in business as well as in life is that absolutely nothing is impossible, and that everything is possible. You just need to ask, you need to believe, and you will achieve. Thank you. We've got 11 minutes for Q&A. Go ahead, sir.
Obviously had pretty amazing times, but you've also had a lot of dark times. Some really sort of times that have really tested you as a person. How do you keep your resilience up and not lose your head, and potentially go insane in terms of the stress? I imagine those points would have been pretty severe.
Good question. I mean, short, stressful times. part of me actually loves adrenaline and stress, but there's a tipping point where there's too much adrenaline and stress and you actually become less effective. And some people do sport. I do yoga. I've been doing yoga for about 8 years. It just keeps me very balanced. And so just trying to do things that sort of balance away. And I mean, these days, post Destra, I work a lot less. So I'm only working 40 or 50 hours a week as opposed to 90 or 100. Just trying to sort of balance my life a bit. And how? Just to basically, those 1 week holidays, because I used to get to the point where your mind's going at such a rapid pace, you can't even think straight. And when you can't think straight, particularly for a little control freak like me, you get even more of a... And I felt myself a few times just thinking, I'm starting to lose control here. And this is why the 1 week holiday every quarter, that is the reset button. We all need a reset button every once in a while. I mean, whoever uses a Windows machine knows all about the reset button. Okay? We as humans need that as well.
Domenic, you mentioned you took the Masters in Entrepreneurship Innovation. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Fantastic. I did sort of touch on the fact that I was a university dropout, but technically I did actually go back to university. There's a course in Melbourne, and I know there's a couple of courses across Australia that are quite similar. It's called the MEI, the Masters of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. And think of it as the entrepreneurial version of the MBA, and it's one of the best courses I've ever done in my life. The reason I loved it is you do stuff, you apply directly into the business. So I used to write marketing plans for mp3.com.au and HR plans and business plans and present to potential investors. And so, the whole notion of learning is pretty cool. And I'm pretty sure that Queensland's got something similar, and so does I think the University of New South Wales. So, if you're actually from Melbourne, MEI is highly recommended, but there are other universities around there as well. Yeah, I just yeah.
What system did you have in place to measure your time for when you were doing the accounting, the customers, and like the strategic planning? How did you measure that with your staff and your timing?
Well, you can do it 2 ways. One, you can be really anal about it and mark it down in 6-minute blocks like accountants and lawyers do, but that would just drive me completely and utterly insane. But I know, sort of toward, usually what I started to do was do it on a daily basis. Usually at the end of the day, you kind of know, it's 40, 40, 20, or it's 0, 0, 100. So you kind of have a feeling, or what I do is just go through my diary and say, okay, each of these meetings was this kind of colour. So that's kind of, and then towards the end, I just used to break it down on a weekly basis. But having that measurement, we just have like nice little Excel graphs, and just so you can actually visualise it, was just a really important thing to say, okay team, we're focusing too much of our attention on this red stuff that isn't adding value to the company. Let's focus on the blue that generates cash flow and the black that generates real value for the company and for our shareholders. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Hassan. My question was in regards to your comment here, you only sell control once. Can you explain that in a bit more detail?
Yeah, well, one of my directors said to me, we'll bring on a strategic shareholder, which is Prime Media, with a 19.9% stake. And in a public company, in private companies, the whole notion of control is usually 51%. Murdoch controls News Corp with 30-odd%. And he said, one of my directors said to me, do you realise that you only sell control once? By selling, effectively issuing shares to Prime Media, who at that time were only a 19.9% shareholder, you're effectively selling control of the company at that point. And obviously, less than 12 months later, they effectively took effective control by having close to 50% of the shares in the company. So when you bring in an investor, you've got to be quite conscious, are you effectively selling